cut off, this hard cut of USAID. What is that? That's not America, is it?
Well, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. For sure, it was a money laundering operation. For sure, there was no oversight. For sure, billions of dollars are missing. In fact, trillions that are unaccounted for.
Elon saw what Bono said and called him a liar and an idiot. The media is accusing him of murdering 300,000 people with no proof. But China, and they said, it's not China's fault. It's just a pangolin. This is what they do. Call you conspiracists while they cook up hoaxes. Remember when the tariffs were going to turbocharge inflation? That was another allegation, and so far, no evidence.
The reality is there will either be less inventory or things at higher prices or both.
When we were here in March, you said there was going to be big inflation. There hasn't been any inflation. Actually, the inflation numbers are the best in 4 years. So why don't we stop trying to say this could happen and wait and see what does happen?
Do you hear yourself, Margaret? This is why no one trusts you.
See what fake news headlines are being spread.
Yes, I don't know if you've seen this. Libras are picking this up, making a lot of videos about this. Joe Rogan had an interview with Bono recently. There was a clapback. When you take a look at this, 300,000 people have already died from his hard cut of USAID. Rogan, it was a money laundering operation. Billions of dollars are missing. Elon Musk said if any of this was done by a public company, the company will be delisted and the executives will be imprisoned. But the way Libras picked this up, they interpreted it differently. I don't know what exactly is even going on. At a certain point, when you look at news headlines, you realize 90% is negative toward him. They struggle to always treat that scenario like, today Elon Musk is no longer in talks with Trump. I saw this few days ago. Upon checking, Trump was having a press conference.
From just this cut off, this hard cut of USAID. So there's food rotting in boats, in warehouses. There is this will off. This will not, you will not be happy. No American will, but there is, I think it's 50,000 tons of food that are stored in Djibouti, South Africa, Dubai, and wait for it, Houston, Texas. And that is rotting rather than going to Gaza, rather than going to Sudan, because the people who know the codes or for the warehouse are fired. They're gone. And so this, I don't know, what do you think? What is that? That's not America, is it?
Well, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
This is the problem. The problem is, for sure, there have been a lot of organizations that do tremendous good all throughout the world. Also, for sure, it was a money laundering operation. For sure, there was no oversight. For sure, billions of dollars are missing. In fact, trillions that are unaccounted for, that were sent off into various, they don't even know where because there's no receipts. The way Elon Musk described it, he said if any of this was done by a public company, the company would be delisted and the executives would be in prison. But in the United States, this is standard. When Biden left office, when it was clear that Trump won, in the 73 days, they spent $93 billion from the Department of Energy on just radical loans, just throwing money into places.
Right.
And there's no oversight, no receipts. Like the whole thing is, there's a lot of fraud, a lot of money laundering.
In storage after Trump's USAID cuts. Because what happened is taxpayers already paid enough to prepare ready-made meals for 1 million people for 3 months, and then they cut the funding to ship it out. So now 60,000 tons of food is just sitting and rotting in warehouses all over the world. I was gonna make a video about this today, and then I found out they also talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast today, and Joe Rogan himself agreed that this was really bad, but the right has clipped up the interview misleadingly, ended the clip right before Joe Rogan said everything about how these aid cuts were bad and Elon Musk wasn't even saving the government money. 1 million people have seen his misleading clip, and he titled it, "Joe Rogan Sets the Record Straight," after Bono, the guy from the band U2, claims 300,000 people have died because of DOGE. I'm going to show you the little part that Joe Rogan said that he...
There is one thing wrong with Libras. They will always do this every single time. They don't play the video or bring all the clip to show us. They will cut out that little part. Joe Rogan criticized, a certain aspect, about what is going on with the cut, how it was supposed to be done, things like that. But Libra took that out of context and struggled to pour the blame on him and Trump. At a certain point, when I look at it, it is not strange because they are fond of this. I want to play the video so you can see this.
Recently that showed that 96% of all the stories that mainstream media prints about Elon are negative. 96%. Was no oversight. For sure, billions of dollars are missing.
So Joe Rogan is concerned about fraud. End the clip. But then he says that even if you do agree with him that they're bad, you can't just starve everyone in the world about it. And he says Elon hasn't actually saved us money, but they clipped all that. Are under the impression that a musician just made up some lie today about USAID, and then Joe Rogan set the record straight, when the reality is that food is rotting all around the world. And Joe Rogan did in fact criticize the Trump administration today, okay? And regardless of what you think about Joe Rogan, it is relevant when he criticizes the Trump administration. Anyways, this is what happens when you cut a policy off in the middle. Millions of prepared meals going bad. Waste of food, waste of money. Not efficient.
MAGA is doing their normal thing, being disingenuous, misinterpreting conversations, and that's exactly what's happening to Bono right now. Bono recently went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and they were talking about the cuts that Elon Musk and Donald Trump have made to things like USAID. You can see in that conversation, Joe Rogan is agreeing with the point that Bono was making. Bono has also done a tremendous amount of work on global health, so misrepresenting this conversation helps literally nobody. It's just MAGA doing their normal thing.
Yes, you see exactly what Joe Rogan put out there. I decided to put in an audio form to avoid these copyright issues. Joe Rogan was clear. That is what happened. So Libras getting agitated that people are reporting that Joe Rogan blew up on Bono is something I don't get why they're refusing. You've heard him say that. Now going into the view, the other day, they were fantasizing about Elon Musk. I understand this is all they have.
And speaking of virgins,
oh my God,
Elon Musk is exiting his White House position as head of DOGE with some pointed remarks about his boss. You know, the boss's so-called big, beautiful bill. He had this whole thing on CBS Sunday Morning. Take a look.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, like, everything he's done on DOGE gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
Yeah. But that is not the only criticism that he is getting. Yesterday, he was asked about a new nickname Wall Street traders gave his tariff policy.
DOGE and Musk going away is a good thing. The DOGE cuts were not done in a thorough, vetted, smart way. Yeah. And I think that can give people a little bit of ease that, like, they're not going to be coming for your Social Security and cutting willy-nilly at different departments. On tariffs, this is going to put a pause on some of the most sweeping ones that are already raising costs on Americans. Yeah. So this is a good intervention of the courts. And then finally, this taco bit. So basically, Wall Street analysts have decided that they're calling his bluff, and that is good because it's not going to give him the ability to create this massive market volatility, which we've seen him do, where people have lost tons of wealth and had our money wiped out in our retirements because they're waiting him out and they realize that he will fold. So this is actually all good from a place of just wanting general economic stability.
Well, I think a part of the nickname part is he's the king of nicknames. He's been doing it. So for a nickname to come back at him and see how that feels a little bit is not bad. But I do like the breakup of Elon and Donald Trump. It's something that, Alyssa, you've been saying for months. You said this bromance can't last. You've got these two alphas coming at each other, and he's going to let Elon take the fall. And I think, Elon put his reputation, he lost $200 billion in Tesla, has lost $200 billion.
Yes, the Troy party do celebrate thinking DOGE is over. DOGE is not stopping. Everything is still going on. Elon Musk made it clear at the beginning of the start with Trump, he will work just for a certain period of time. He will continue with his company, and he did just that.
We could have a conversation about Trump.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't even let him give me a Heimlich maneuver. Yeah. That's how little I feel about people. I don't know.
Well, and a MAGA supporter is like
calling you right now.
I got it.
Somebody's.
I fixed it.
Tell that MAGA man, leave
No,
you alone.
I'm not sleeping with you anymore.
Well, I think you're complimenting it by calling it a policy. Just not to talk about my book again, but one of the things we discovered when we did this book, Original Sin, me and Alex Thompson, is there's a Senator Bennett from Colorado, who went to an event in June 2024 where Biden seemed non-functioning.
How bad is his reputation going to be in the future? It was bad before your book. Now it's worse.
People line up for my advice, and you're walking away like I'm stupid. It's like,
why don't we choose more carefully who we're going to lionize?
Why marriage, infertility, trying to have kids makes things difficult. It's like
she's seriously depressed about how hard it is to live in the White House.
Post this morning alleging that since I said will prevail.
It also shouldn't be racial.
Require Carmelo to run. He had
100.
Has been overwhelming. The lies and their amplification.
This is not going to end. Right is right and wrong is wrong. All good.
If you see any clips after this, that is just for the YouTube algorithm.
What if he says self-defense?
There's no self-defense because kids in here and resolve this issue is called conflict resolution.
Again, the evidence is still coming in.
This is definitely a self-defense case because it always is one until you...
Because she's fearful of what might happen to her.
Followers for anything, and then the
Registration Act is
talking about
term, and you will be very...
Once again, the field was littered with Wintour does.
And black people don't want to live around ratchet black.
This right here is the perfect example.